As a new resident, I was very curious how to tap into the art scene at the time, after missing a few opportunities already. I learned about this art exhibition that was coming up at the time that occurred recently last year, around October, I believe, thanks to my family and some good folks on the Nextdoor app for telling me about it. So the topic of the exhibition was called Maricopa's Love Story. It is supposed to be dedicated to celebrating the 20 years of its existence and how it will look in the next 20 years. And I felt at the time that the prompt felt very specific, but given that with my experience here already, I figured that there was a couple of things that I felt we all had in common. And shoot, I've only been here for a year, and I should have been cranking out some desert art already. But I was still settling into my environment. So, given that it's only been a year, and I didn't want to go so deep on it, the one thing I know that we could all agree on is how unusually gorgeous the sunsets are compared to other places I've traveled. On top of that, I hear stories from the community about the growth of this city. It will be residents that actually been here 20 years to those who slowly made their way here. And I would look on local community groups on, Facebook and Nextdoor. And sometimes I'd see people say negative things about those living in the newly built apartments here. So the goal was to make the residents feel safe and comfortable as they're working with the opportunities that they're blessed with, while also creating unity with those that's been here already. I wanted to create something positive and vibrant that encapsulated both what most of us can appreciate and the future that I love to see ahead for this city. And I was afraid to waste paint for something that might not be accepted. So I had in mind that if this concept did get accepted, I would make the finished product look exactly like the submission, meaning that I keep the design and the palette minimal with the message still clear, speaking in volumes. The goal was to just speak my message as simply as possible, for this was my artist's introduction to the city. A philosophy that I'm slowly adopting is that less is more. So when it came to the submissions, I sent a concept of how I think the art would look. And to my surprise, it made it to the list shortly after while I was traveling out of town. With that being said, I knew I'd have a week to complete it as soon as I came back. So jumping into the process, after coming back into town, I knew this was going to be a large piece from the gate. If this was going to be my first commemorated piece of the city, I wanted to make a good first impression, so I chose a large canvas to speak my message. I picked up my spray paint from Walmart, connected my iPad to a projector, and traced my design over the canvas. I ended up finishing the rest of the piece outside because, spray paint and choking hazards, right? I primed, I spray painted to get that gradient in, and, I painted over the rest and gave it a good clear coat. I taped down the big areas and worked in layers. And surprising enough, I finished in about 2 days before it was display time. So as display time came in, the only thing I really needed after that clear coat was hanging material, which I just grabbed from Walmart and installed within, I'd say, 15 minutes top. Then I went to the library for the first time, and that's where all the pieces would be up for display at. I've come across some very lovely pieces. And when they asked about the info on the canvas, I realized I forgot to add a certificate of authenticity. It's been a while since I've had my art on display. And after realizing that, I figured I'd still inquire on the future dates and exhibitions coming up, just so I'm still in the loop and finding opportunities for my art to be in more places and spaces. And up to today, it's crazy seeing my work in a place sitting for a long period of time. I probably have to compete in a popularity contest if it was in LA. The only problems I really was concerned about was there wasn't any names on display because tags aren't allowed on the wall, so we didn't have proper name tags. And the solution I had was just designing a display for the library to have on their counter, or a TV ad for those that are interested in getting involved in the latest arts activities in the city. The artwork is still on display in the library entrance until April, and hopefully by the end of the exhibition I can include the certificate of authenticity because it already sold to the city. But I figure I'd make prints available on my website for those that are interested. Thought about making postcards for the community as well if they wanted to send something to their loved ones back at home. But I'm open to feedback on it. Anyways, this is it. A trip into the future. I'm now available to view on my website. And this was the image that I felt encapsulates what I see ahead in the future for the city.